All right, so I wanted to talk about another Thomas Sowell quote, and he says here, "The political left's attempts to silence ideas they cannot or will not debate are a confession of intellectual bankruptcy, but this is just one of the left's ever-increasing restrictions on other people's freedom to live their lives as they see fit." And again, this is something I brought up endlessly. I bring this up all the time because it's very true. Like, and this is the thing too that I wanted to throw a caveat out here to begin that regardless of what side you're on politically, or even if it's not a debate that has anything to do with politics, whenever someone tries to do this kind of stuff, you can tell probably with 99% certainty that you shouldn't be listening to what they're saying. And how do they do stuff like this? Well, number one, they censorship, I think, is a big one. Censorship is probably the biggest thing that they try and do. Another big one that they try and do, and this is something you'll see a lot in other debates too, like even as far as non-political stuff goes, people try and use credentials as an argument, right? Either directly in that they'll you'll be talking about this whole virus situation, they'll be like, oh, are you a doctor, who cares what you say? Or when it comes to climate change, it's like 97% of scientists agree, even though that's completely false. But anyway, like whenever someone tries to do something like that, even if they're right, like let's just say 97% of scientists did agree that on whatever it is they agree on, and when it comes to climate change, that's still not an argument. That's still not an argument because who cares? And here's the thing that I always bring up to the what comes to this kind of stuff is that if the evidence is so overwhelming, right? If the evidence is so overwhelming, then it should be very easy to debunk what the other person is saying. It should be incredibly easy. If you are a quote unquote expert in the field and the other person isn't, it should be very easy to destroy them in a debate, right? Like I don't understand why that's so confusing for people. Like I really don't. And I think when it comes to a lot of these people that do use their credentials as an argument, I think they've gotten too far into their head that they think that oh, I'm super smart, right, because I got these credentials, right. They've gotten they basically believe their own lies, right, not necessarily their own, and that college and all this kind of stuff, and that people are brainwashed into thinking that you know, if you're smart, then you need a college degree, right? Smart people have college degrees, right? So they assume, oh, I have a college degree, therefore I'm smart, right? Again, it's just stupidity. And like I say, flipping back around to the other big one too, it's censorship. And I think censorship is the worst one when it comes to this kind of stuff. I really do. Um, and why is that? And why is that, right? Because anybody, and here's the thing that they don't understand by censorship too, is it's classic Streisand effect too, in that when you censor something, the ideas don't go away. Like again, like one of the first people YouTube censored was Alex Jones, right? Alex Jones is every bit as popular as what he always has been, right? Every maybe not quite, but um, every bit as popular, right? So if not very close. So again, do the ideas go away? No, they really don't. They really don't. Here's the other thing too, is that if you have someone like Alex Jones on YouTube, then it's a lot easier to push back against what they're saying. Like it's a lot easier to do it. Like if you're someone who disagrees with them, are you more likely to go and comment on the videos if they're on YouTube versus if they're on some platform you've never heard of, right? Of course it's going to be YouTube. Or YouTube, you're gonna get more downvotes, you're gonna get all this kind of stuff. So again, the idea of censoring ideas you don't agree with makes no sense whatsoever. Now again, the other thing that they always bring up too is it's hate speech, it's racism, it's again, been over this a million times too. No one is arguing that legitimately illegal things should be allowed on these platforms. In fact, BitChute recently banned someone because they were, I don't know the exact details, so don't quote me on it, but from what I heard, they were basically recruiting for a terrorist organization on BitChute, right? And BitChute banned them. So again, this idea that you have this craziness going on if you don't censor everything that these social justice warriors find offensive, it makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever because it's just not the case. It's not the case. So yeah, the biggest thing that they do when it comes to this kind of stuff is censorship. And the ways that they get away with it, it's very simple. They just accuse people of being, World War II Germans and racists and sexists and all this garbage, and that most of the time it's not true. Most of the time it's not true. Like, you know, if you actually ask the average person, okay, well, what is Alex Jones says that's racist or sexist, right? People know Alex Jones is like the conspiracy theory guy, even though a lot of what he said, the majority of his quote unquote conspiracy theories are true, at least to some extent. There's some stuff he says that's kind of crazy, but most of what he says is true. And if you don't believe that, you can go back and listen to, I think it was two time. It definitely wasn't the last time. I think it was 2 or 3 times ago when he was on Joe Rogan and he was saying all this stuff that to the average person sounds insane, but yet Joe Rogan would, whatever the other guy was, he would look it up and sure enough it would be true, right? So again, this is the thing when it comes to that kind of stuff, is that when you censor someone, or someone with an opinion, the opinions don't just go away. They just go underground. And the reason that you shouldn't want to censor is that when you censor, it just becomes more of an echo chamber, right? Like, do you think that whoever it is, right, whoever it is, do you think that people who watch these kind of people, do you think that they're in more of an echo chamber if they're just on BitChute or if they're also on YouTube? Of course they're going to be in less of an echo chamber, right? Of course. Now, again, I'm not saying that these people necessarily are in echo chambers. Some of them probably are, but again, not nearly as much as the average, CBC viewer or something like that. Um, I'm simply just trying to make a point, right? So, when it comes to censorship, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. The reason that they're censoring is simply, they start with the most crazy people, right? They start with, that's always how it's done. This is how every draconian thing is always done throughout history. Is that, and this is how they get it done, is because the average person is naive enough to think that, number one, it'll never happen to them, and number two, if it does happen, it's probably going to happen overnight, right? This is another reason why people are so ignorant of history, is that they don't understand that this stuff like that always happens over years or even decades, right? Years or even decades. So what they do is very simple. They start out with the craziest of the crazy, and then they slowly whittle away until there's literally nobody left that's to the right of center, right? There's literally, I mean, YouTube has censored, or at the very least, downranked, like Tim Pool videos, like one of the most moderate, milquetoast centrists you can possibly think of, is still getting censored, at least to some degree. He's still growing, so clearly not that much, but some of his stuff has been censored, right? So again, like, this idea that they're only censoring the crazy people is not the case. And I don't even think a lot of these people are crazy either, to be fair. But again, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense that YouTube is very clear in that. I mean, not only that, all the other social media platforms too, like all the other social media platforms, they're very clear in that they don't want views that are to the right of center. They're overtly political, right? They're overtly political, and that, I think, was it Jack Dorsey or was it Mark Zuckerberg? One of those two was asked recently, and um, when they were testifying to Congress, and I don't know who it was, but maybe it was Ted Cruz. But anyway, they asked him, can you think of a single left wing person or a single left wing page that has been censored? And they couldn't think of any. Like, they couldn't think of any. So again, people say, yeah, there is some left wingers that have been censored. To be fair, there is some, but it's overwhelmingly on the right. It is overwhelmingly on the right. And the argument they always come back to is my private platform. And again, if you want to make that argument, fine, but you better change your argument when it comes to the whole gay wedding cake thing. And not to mention too that there's other big issues here, and that, number one, um, they don't want to act as private platforms. In fact, they do in a way, but they don't in a way, right? And that they want the benefits of being a publisher, but they also want the benefits of being a platform, because being a publisher means that you can censor. But the problem with that is that the upside to being a publisher is that you can censor, but the upside to being a platform is that you get legal immunity. So again, they want to have it both ways, right? They want to have it both ways, and they keep going back and forth, and the government refuses to push the issue on it, right? The government refuses to push the issue on it. So Anyway, I think this is a very good point. This is something that, again, it should be talked about a lot more in society, and it isn't, because you have so many people that still think that things are the same as they've always been. They think that only the crazy people get banned off these social media platforms, when that's really not the case. That's really not the case. It's anybody that questions the narrative. Anyone that questions the narrative will be censored, or outright banned. That's how it that is how it works. So anyway, if you like the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Make sure you check out those other platforms below. Again, YouTube has been censoring me lately, so make sure you follow me on those other platforms. If you want to donate, you can do that as well. Again, I appreciate whatever support I can get. But like I say, check me out on those other platforms. Stay tuned for more, and have a good day.